Most people don't care about the AI, they care about the value they're getting from the product. So I'm an AI engineer, also do a lot of data and AI content creation, now keynote speaker, also entrepreneur, landlord, a lot of different things. The ordinary regular person does not know AI. So it's very important to educate everybody. You have to use your data to understand how to remain competitive in this landscape. One of the biggest things that I've learned this year is most people just don't even show up. When in reality, what's really required is just to show up. You know, when you're filling out applications and getting like instantly approved or denied, that uses machine learning as well, which is a subset of AI. 75% of people don't show up. So you only have 25 people that you have to compete with.
Right.
Based on you listening to this podcast, you're probably a creative entrepreneur who's ready to stop hustling for clients and start building a business that runs on purpose, profit, and peace.
If that's you, we want to invite you to join the Creative to CEO Challenge, a 5-day live coaching experience designed to help you shift your mindset and develop the habits to turn your creativity into consistent cash flow.
And it's all happening live on Zoom inside a private community of ambitious creative entrepreneurs just like you. People who are done guessing, done grinding, and ready to build with clarity and confidence.
By the end of the challenge, you'll have a crystal clear direction on your next 90 days, a profit plan that fits your lifestyle, and the framework to start earning 10K plus months doing what you love without burning out or selling out.
So if that sounds like what you need, then tap the link in the description or scan the QR code if you're watching this on screen. And do not forget to upgrade to VIP for bonus coaching and behind the scenes Q&A every day of the challenge with me and Shy.
We can't wait to help you unlock CEO mode and the freedom you've been working for. Now, let's get back to the episode.
What's up, and welcome to the Minding My Creative Business podcast, the #1 podcast for creative entrepreneurs to find strategy, structure, and self-development all in one place. I am your co-host, ShySpeaks.
And I'm the co-host, Ron Ironically Jr. And we are here with a lovely guest today. She is a data conversationalist. She is an AI specialist. She also is a speaker. Well, she just does some phenomenal things. So welcome to today's show, Kierra Dotson.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you for coming. So that's how we introduce you.
Okay.
How would you introduce yourself?
A woman of many talents, definitely multi-hyphenate, but with my passion being about data and AI, mostly speaking on that. Yes, I'm an AI engineer, also do a lot of data and AI content creation, mostly on Twitter, but I have expanded to video content, hopefully YouTube coming soon. No, not hopefully, it will happen. People have to speak it into existence. And then also now keynote speaker. So yeah, a lot of that, and also entrepreneur, landlord, a lot of different things. So.
Entrepreneur. So we are talking to you, creative entrepreneurs. And so Kierra also is a creative entrepreneur. She has a fashion and AI beauty company that we're not even going to get into it. We just know we're going to pause from the cause as it relates to the business bones and of it. We want to actually have her here in a series that we're doing called Resources for Creative Entrepreneurs. And so we want to use the resource that she is. She's been helping people, up level their careers with AI companies. She does consulting for some companies, up leveling. So how about you understand how AI and data can be used in your creative-based business from a resource right here. You see what we're doing? Okay, so let's get it. How can, no, I'm not going to get straight into that. Let me because I get too excited. I just go straight in. I'm trying to get y'all the information.
Right.
We need to kind of get a little bit of a backdrop,
A little bit.
get a little understanding before we get in. You got a question?
Yeah, no, you know, I always got that how did you get started question. So we know that AI's been here forever, data's been here forever, but for Kierra to like kind of take on that mantle and say, no, I want to dive into this, and not only dive into it, but teach other people, like where did that come from?
Well, it came from just understanding that we really have the opportunity to see a really big trend coming on, especially with AI, and making sure that I wanted to make sure I'm at the forefront of it instead of being in the behind, like a lot of Black people typically do. We always wait till it's too late to hop on to figure something out. And because I felt like I had discovered something and really understood it technically, I wanted to educate our people on, how they can take advantage of this too. They don't even have to be in tech to take advantage of it, but they do need to understand how to use that to adapt to whatever role they have coming on. That way that they're ready and prepared for when the revolution takes off. Because we're still in the beginning of AI. Most people, the ordinary regular person, does not know AI.
Right.
So a lot of us live in a bubble, especially if we're online with social media a lot. We get to see a lot of that, but the average person does not. So it's very important to educate everybody, not just tech professionals, but just really the community as much as possible. Like I'll speak to, I'm gearing up to teach and speak about AI to kids. I think that's really important since they are our future. And then also like the elderly, just to having them understand what it is too and how they actually have been using it for a while now and they just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Man,
that's what I say. It's been around for, they say centuries, right?
Yeah, no. Well, it's been around since I would say like almost like the 50s, 60s, 70s is when it really started to ramp up. But yeah, it's been around for much longer than people think. It's just that back then it used to be hidden behind the research labs, whereas now, especially with the prominence of social media and then also companies understanding how to make a lot of money from people using it, that's why it's kicking off.
Right.
What's one thing that people like, because we're going to talk about like I'm going tuning out on this episode because I can't use AI. I'm a creative. I just need that's not what we're talking about. Data. What am I going to do with some data, right? And we're going to get into how this is a resource for you. But I just want to go back to say how practical it is. Like, what's an example of something that was old, like an olden day AI?
Olden day AI. So, I mean, if you want to just think about it simply, even to where people have used this before, it's, with autocorrect. So essentially what autocorrect is, it'll predict the words that are going to occur next as you're typing or texting. That has pattern matching, which is backed by AI behind that. So, at Netflix, it uses AI for your recommendation system to figure out what you want to watch next. And that way you don't have to scroll too hard on figuring what you want to watch before you go sit down and eat. Things of that nature. There's so many things. Also, they have been working on supercomputers for a while now. So those tend to use a lot of machine learning and AI as well too. When you're filling out applications and getting like instantly approved or denied, that uses machine learning as well, which is a subset of AI to get all that done and going. So a lot of the tools you use on a day-to-day use AI. You just don't know it because it's behind the scenes, because most people don't care about the AI. They care about the value they're getting from the product. So that's what I want people to really understand, that technically this isn't new. It's just that it's more front-facing to everybody.
That's really good. You used another term a while ago, supercomputer. So before we go any further, give me at least like 2 to 3 vocabulary words that people need to know about when it comes to AI, because I don't want us to get in there and then you're like saying stuff. So just something that's like AI and data oriented that people may not think of. So we got supercomputer, because that's like a tech word. What's something else that's like a...
Yeah, and I'll give a definition of a supercomputer. So supercomputers were originally made just to see if they could perform as good as or outperform humans. You might see something that's called the Turing test. And that's how people see if their AI that they built is so good that if someone were talking with it, with like, even if it's like a wall between them or something, they wouldn't be able to detect that it was AI or a machine. They would just think they were communicating with a human. So that's what a supercomputer is used for at this point. Another term, yes. So generative AI is very important because that's really what everybody's seeing nowadays with ChatGPT, all the nano, and all the little different images that you can generate. Generative AI is AI that you can use to generate something. It produces something for you, such as, ChatGPT giving you the output for a recipe, or, some type of article that you might be looking for. Midjourney, where it's spitting out some type of images or designs that you might be looking for. So that's generative AI. Let's see what else there could be. I think this is really important, especially for the community, bias, especially with data bias. So data, we might hear data bias and how certain things or lawsuits come about from maybe, let's say, mortgage. We hear about people getting denied loans and it turns out it's because they're Black. Things of that nature. We'll hear issues where an AI will scan your resumes, and then they disproportionately like turn down women. So the reason for that is because there's bias in the data, which means that it's skewed to look a certain way, so that when the AI system picks it up, it basically embeds those same beliefs into the system. So it's not AI that's being biased or racist or, you know, misogynistic or anything like that. It's the data that is given to it, because AI can't exist without data. So for instance, for the mortgages, there is a huge chunk of data that we don't even exist in, because Black people didn't get mortgages back then. So if only white people were getting mortgages, or just non-Black people, that's all the data that it has. So when AI gets fed this stuff in and it sees that there's Black people, it's just like, well, I'm not used to seeing Black people. This is weird. The data I have doesn't say anything. So this must be wrong. So just deny it.
Wow.
So that's really what it is. If you don't know what it is, you're not going to want to touch it. You know, that's really what that is. Same thing with, women with their getting denied for the resumes. Same thing there, where women didn't work for a long period of time, especially when it came to like actual jobs outside of labor in the home. So same thing there. The data show that people weren't working. Always show women, it's mostly men. So that's why they will tend to go for those.
Okay, so it is data bias. It has become biased based on historical trends. 1,500 years of mostly men, a few years of women, but we have a bias towards mostly men because the data shows us what we use.
Yes, and that's
interesting.
And that's why ethics and people getting into like data and AI ethics is very important, especially with governance, because there's certain groups of people, of course, that might be at the top or it skews that way, and they might not understand there's bias in the data because they're used to only seeing certain things, and so they don't think outside for other groups or organizations that might be missing. And that's why there's a call for, more Black and brown people to get embedded in ethics, because if we don't speak up and try to change things, we'll be erased and forgotten, just like we were before, for like mortgage loans and things of that nature. So it's very important to just think about AI from that point of view of we're not using it, if we're not interacting with these things, then we're actively erasing ourselves, because we can't count on other people to remember. Especially like a really good example was Africa doesn't have a lot of data because, of course, a lot of it's traditionally written down.
Right.
And also the USA is not going around from country to country to get data. So a lot of the things that they do is not in ChatGPT or anything like that. So they have to create their own systems, AI systems, to make sure that they have the right data to help them and serve them. But even like it was surprised when I found out, but it's because I don't think about Africa like that. I'm just really focused on where I am.
Yeah.
So that's another good way to think about it. Like sometimes it actually just is not intentional. You're only just shaped by your own worldview, and we all live in a bubble. We're always forgetting somebody somehow, but that's just by nature of we're only focusing on, whatever's right 15 feet in front of us, to the side and to the back. So that's also why ethics is important, because it just brings a diverse group of people. And so you're able to consider everybody as much as possible when building out these products, and then also with just shaping the data.
Okay. When building out these products, come on, let's get into it, right? So we have creative entrepreneurs. They're like, okay, cool. She knows about this stuff. I like it. I learned a few new vocabulary words. Okay, so now I'm a creative entrepreneur and I'm building out, I have a product. I actually have and I'm not talking me specifically. I'm just saying someone who's watching, the audience member. I am like a boutique owner, right? I own a boutique. We do hats, like it's some custom hats. We kind of figured it out, and then we go get them kind of, so we do handmade stuff. We get them custom made, and then we add some handmade details. So there's some manufacturing there, and there's some hand customization there. So we're very boutique in that regard. So we're a hatter type of boutique. And there's another audience person who is watching, and they are a videographer, right? And you're trying to up level their creative based business. And so like I want you to think about them when we're answering some of these questions. So one of them has a physical product, and then the other one offers a service, right? So that's who our audience is. Now, when we talk about them building out their products or like developing new products, strengthening their old products, we would say they can use AI and they can use data, right? So I want to we'll talk a little bit about AI. We'll come back to it. Let's talk about data. Most people don't think that like, I don't need data. I just need to like make my product dope. I just need to listen to my customers. Like I know my people in and out. I know my target market. What are some opportunities for them to use data if they feel like they already know their client base?
Yes, for sure. And it's good to feel like you know your target audience, especially as a business owner. But a lot of people overlook the power of data. In fact, we are in basically the era where data really runs and rules everything. It is very important as more and more businesses are started up, you have to use your data to understand how to remain competitive in this landscape, especially because data will help you to speed up how much you're able to offer, and then specifically what you're going to offer to your target audience, because you're not the only one trying to reach your target audience. So for instance, like with the fashion boutique, we know we have seen a lot of supply chain issues recently within the past few years, just from shipping stuff in, especially with tariffs. It'd be really good to see if you can have backup vendors to supply certain things for you, even if it's, imported or if it's local or within the country, compared to having to order overseas, which will of course increase not only the amount of expenditures you have to do, but as well as your customers not getting orders, especially if it's pre-orders or something. They might have to wait longer. And then that, of course, offsets your business. So a good way to do this, of course, is looking at your contracts. You can upload them to, maybe use ChatGPT or anything like that. Use that to skim through to see if there's any loopholes that you might be missing. Maybe there's a way for you to even use other vendors and then figure out how to work with them and have some type of backup system going on there. Another one is also just using it to see your sales. A lot of people tend to focus on the financials. What are people buying? So in your head, you might think, wow, this one shirt is really selling out really fast. But in reality, it might be a dress that's actually going even faster. And you just don't see that because maybe you're just not paying attention. You're really focused on whatever it was that you're selling. That can help you to even figure out, okay, what is it about this one product that's selling out that's making everyone like it? Is it the design? Is it just because it's trendy? Is it the way it lays down on people? Maybe even the materials or the fabrics. And then from there, you can figure out, should I offer something similar and increase my revenue? It's just like that. Another one is, of course, also seeing why people aren't liking a product. Maybe you think that some designs are really cool, but everybody else is kind of skimping on it. So look at it. Is it because you're not really showcasing it on social media like you are the other products? Maybe it needs to be done in a different lighting, where you can look at your social media metrics based off of that too. There's so many ways you can kind of use different data sources to really play around and see what you can use to better serve yourself and then also your audience as well too. Because another with data bias again, I love my customer. I know my customer. I know what they want. Well, and that's just an assumption that you have, which is not wrong. It's not bad. But why would you not use what's actual facts in front of you to strengthen that? A lot of times we tend to go off of our gut, but sometimes our gut isn't actually telling us factual information. So when you have that factual information, you'll be able to remain competitive, especially when you have somebody else selling similar products and they seemingly seem to do well. What can you do to differentiate yourself? So you have to be ahead of the curve. Okay, the data says this, so let me buy this. And the other people haven't done that yet. Also, you can use that to check out and actually be nosy and peek on your competitors. Okay, my competitor's doing this. Can you go to their website and figure out what they're doing? This is what I'm trying to do. What can I do to get an edge over them? Is it targeting, an audience that's even more niche or more specific? Is it offering a certain service that they have, offering certain clothing that they might not have, faster shipping, maybe slightly cheaper prices or something of that nature? So there's so many ways you can upload and use all this data to figure out how to help yourself and your business.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is so you're using them in kind of like in tandem, right? To where I'm getting the data and I'm feeding the data into the AI to help me to, almost like R&D, research and development, right? Yeah, and that's key, right? It's like I think a lot of times we're so used to doing that we don't take the time to research and develop, right? It's like, okay, I need this information, this data to inform me what I'm doing well,
Right.
what can be improved, so that then I can go in and make the proper adjustments and tweaks so that it can increase productivity, which hopefully would increase revenue. And if we're increasing revenue, then hopefully that's increasing impact and just the different things as to why we are doing our creative endeavors anyway.
Mhm.
Marvin.
And so you were talking about like inventory, and you talked about social media, right? So when you have inventory that you're selling, so you're gonna pull down your inventory, like maybe you're pulling it down for the month, you're pulling it down for the season, you're pulling it down for the year, or however whatever time frame you're looking at, you're going to pull some type of spreadsheet. Is that what you're saying we're going to do?
Right.
And we're going to look at the data. And if you don't know how to be a data analyst, which is what we have whole roles for that. If you need somebody who can actually analyze the data, you're saying, let's upload my inventory report. And this inventory report can be pulled from different angles, just not time periods, right? You can pull inventory from the vendors that we're using, which vendors are we're using most frequently.
Right.
We can pull that's what we're getting, sending, shipping, and receiving inventory through. We can look at we're stocked on this day, and then it takes us about 60 days before we have to restock, and then it takes us about 60 days before we have to restock. And so, and then it's starting to take us 90 days. This stuff is sitting here longer. And so you may not have realized that. You just know it just gets slow,
Right.
But okay, now we can look at the data and let the data inform what we do. So we know it's going to get slow, then we need to ramp up and do this here so we can kind of create that cash flow balance that we need to have. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, exactly. As you're saying, it's best to be proactive rather than reactive, and data can help you to predict that. Like you said, by being a data analyst, I don't think that you actually have the official job role or title for that. If you have the skills, then that's what it is. And as a business owner, you wear many hats anyway. So sometimes you got to put on your data analyst hat.
Right. So basically, we have you as a creative entrepreneur. Before you have a team, you are legal, you marketing, you're doing product, and now we saying you a data analyst. Come on, just embrace it.
But like you said, like you let the data inform your decisions,
Right.
and hopefully you're making better decisions as a result. I mean, in entrepreneurship, there's a lot of trial and error, right? Which is good because that's how we learn. But if I can utilize AI to now and assist me in learning and making those decisions, then it may not take as long, right, as it would if I'm learning on my own, learning from my trial and error.
Right.
So no, this is good.
Yeah. I know we talked a bit about the product-based businesses. We talked about someone who is a creative entrepreneur. They make hats, little slash manufacturing, a little bit of customization and all that kind of stuff. But what can they be looking at? We talked about pulling down data for inventory and analyzing that, not just the sales, because then if you look at the inventory, it may inform you on suppliers, because you brought that up. Another thing you talked about was social media, right? Again, maybe you don't have maybe you're not a hat, or you have some other product that you're selling and you're a creative entrepreneur. Looking at social media data, can we talk a little bit about that before we move on to service-based business? Let's talk about, because people think that they're looking at the data by saying, I got a lot of views, I got a lot of likes. That's engagement. But what other data can we be looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. This definitely is a good topic because I'm a content creator, so I have to think about this stuff all the time. As Shy was saying, a lot of people tend to focus on more so just a quick engagement of how many likes did this get, how many views did this get. But I think what's even more important are like bookmarks. How many people are bookmarking this to come back to it? And then also they have now, if you're selling something, you can do it through Instagram and all the TikTok shop and all of that. But how many people are even adding things to cart if there is that, or even reaching out for these types of services or whatever it is that you offer? That's the most important part, because people can like stuff, but they won't buy it.
Right.
So, and that's not enough information to tell you whether or not someone's going to buy something. Those bookmarks and saves mean that people really want to come back to that and hopefully remember it later down the line. And of course, if people are reaching out to you for this stuff, clearly they're interested. So, and then I know that TikTok and then also have ways so they can see how, if people searched it, did it come across for your profile? Did it come across directly from your feed? Is this like marketing? So trying to understand what your biggest channels are for people driving to that social media channel, especially if it's even certain keywords. So perhaps you need to tailor your caption to be more keyword friendly, so where people can pick it up or easily go view that, because it's part of the algorithm. And that's a big thing too. The algorithm is based off of a lot of keyword search and all of that. So if you're not really being descriptive with your caption on what you're offering, no one's going to see it and you're not going to get any views. which is a whole other thing in itself. It's a whole different strategy, but you really do have to think about that. So and they have it to where you can actually go view insights. It's really important to wait until about 24 to 48 hours after you post the content to look at what's going on, because then you'll have a full 2 day cycle to see who's actually looking at what's going on there. Even better if you actually made video content, where are people dropping off? Because you really need to see, if it's video, how are they highly engaged? If they're not making it past 3 seconds, that's already bad. So you should probably switch up your formula. Maybe it's the way that your photos are angled. Maybe you need to do some color grading for it or something to position it to make it look better. And then also just seeing what other people are doing with social media in the same industry, or, your competitors, even if it's more so, if you're selling courses, or even if it's something like you're doing catering, how are people plating their food and offering things as well too? Because a lot of people will just throw up a quick little flyer they made and be like, well, I'm selling this. Well, storytelling is in now. So people have to really feel drawn to your brand to buy from you, besides, oh, you sell this or you did something like that. Well, there's 50 other people literally within the same few miles that do the same thing. So how are you different? So really using data to help you tell a story and to strengthen how people perceive you and what you're offering.
Okay. So one of the things you talked about just a minute ago, and I think it's very important to reiterate, you were saying with social media, checking to see how many people are tapping from your post into your TikTok store, tapping from your post into your Instagram store. A lot of people don't even have their store connected to the Facebook, to the TikTok. They're like, oh, I just haven't connected mine. I haven't gotten that done. So that's something that I just feel like, let's get that done, because then you can actually start tracking those taps and seeing how effective your social media is. That's one thing I wanted to iterate. Now I want to move from products over to services, right? And so you can integrate here. We can talk about data and AI. But when someone they're a creative entrepreneur, but they have a service-based business, right? I don't have a product to sell, but I do serve people, whether it's something that I'm coaching, maybe I'm making courses, maybe I am, I don't know, that's another service that creative entrepreneurs are offering, that's not a product.
I mean, like you said, coaching, consulting, that's a service. Yeah, I mean, it's a plethora of things.
There's a plethora. He doesn't repeat the two that I said. Like, come on now. I'm just no, but I think about.
I mean, teaching. I mean,
like caterer.
Yeah.
You just said
caterer.
Yeah, a caterer does all this nice culinary stuff, but then they have to actually go serve it to people. There is mostly people who are not in okay, maybe you are a musician, but you teach musicianship. So it's really, I'm not selling you a product. You're just going to come learn. I'm going to show you how to play guitar. That's the service, right? So we got all these different service-based businesses that are creative entrepreneurs. We want to make sure that they understand how to use data and how to use AI as well. So you can kind of talk to me about what are some things that we can use with AI? How can we use AI? And then after that, we're going to get into some advanced, let's take us a little bit past ChatGPT, okay? Tell us some advanced tools we can use. But for right now, so you want to stick around for that part. But for right now, just talk to me about service-based business. What's some data that they can be using?
Yeah, sure. So for service-based businesses, data, it still goes and boils down to, for them is sales. What does that look like? What are people buying? If you're in courses, how long are people staying in those courses whenever they go in to take the course? How long are they logging in? Looking at that type of data will help you to see, okay, is the course boring? They see that most people completed the first 2 sections, but the third one is where they stop at. So what's going on in the third section to where I can strengthen it so people follow through? How many people are logging in or aren't? Maybe you need to tailor your target audience or even raise your prices for people who are going to take it seriously, because some people actually do care about that course completion. I mean, you should.
Sure.
The same thing applies for, catering and things. How many people are coming in and placing orders? If so, what are the top things that they're buying? Maybe it's desserts. Maybe it's a certain soup that you make and they really like it. Well, is it because it's seasonal, or is it just because the soup is really bomb, which is great either way. Okay, people are buying a certain set of products that are using some type of ingredient. Maybe I should focus on making more products using that ingredient and finding different ways to incorporate it throughout the seasons. Same thing with, competitors. Again, saying, hey, go find whatever competitors are doing locally, or, top competitors in the market, show me their strengths and their weaknesses and how I can differentiate myself. What are they doing that I'm not doing? That also helps as well too. And then lastly, trends. What are the top trends that are happening this season, this quarter, this year? How can I position that into my business to where it's not gimmicky, but it still fits in and fits what my vision for my brand is?
You're not just an entrepreneur. You're a creative entrepreneur, which means that your world of business works differently, especially when it comes to funding. Okay, maybe you're bootstrapping, injecting your own money into your passion, or you're searching for investors who all too often overlook your unique vision. And yeah, you've heard a little bit about business credit, but you don't know exactly where to get started. Well, listen, we've got your back. We've partnered with Credit Savant to help creative entrepreneurs just like you get access to up to $150,000 in business credit. That's right, $150,000 to scale your creative-based business into the enterprise that you know that it can be. And trust me, they're not just going to throw information at you and send you on your way. They're going to walk hand in hand with you to help you get funded. Are you ready to take the next step? Well, head over to creditsavant.io. That's creditsavant.io and tell them MMCB sent you.
Right. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to give you a scenario. So I am let's say I'm an event curator, right? That's my creativity. I design these, these celebrities, or not even celebrities, like even small businesses. They bring me in to design experiences. They tell us like, hey, we want this event, we want it to have this theme, we want it to serve this many people, and make it look like a winter wonderland, and da da da. So there are people who are just really great with all of that. They're gonna know what to put on the wall. They know how to make the lighting, the mood. They know what food to go. They know all that. They're killing it on that. And so how can they use like someone who's already creative, but they're dealing with a high-end customer? What's something that they can use for AI? Like what's the AI that they can use that's a little bit more advanced than ChatGPT? Like, oh, I need an idea for a winter wonderland. Like, there has to be other tools out here. And I know with you being a data engineer or AI engineer, you know what they are. You're talking to us on layman's term with ChatGPT. So take us a little deeper.
Of course. Now, because I don't do too much outside of, my own creative storytelling, what propping up a camera and talking into it. So I can't give specific products, but I can give the specific ideas that people can search for to figure it out. So you mentioned event planning and high-end stuff. Perhaps they need a better way to figure out the flow for these venues, especially if they're bigger. Where do I need to set up a photo booth? Where do I need to set up like, catering or something like that, so where it looks nice and flows well in this venue, especially for this person who is paying basically for a high ticket service. There are tools that can help you with that interior design and figuring out that planning, and maybe even adding in additional props that you might not have thought about. Especially because I know we keep going back to ChatGPT, but a lot of people search for creative, decor on Etsy. ChatGPT has collaborated with Etsy, so where you can actually go and search for products in there, and you can actually pay for what you want through that service if you like it right now today, which is really cool because it's less clicks around for you to figure out what you want. And then if it's something that's really selling well, it's of course going to show up in ChatGPT when you shop for it. But I would not recommend ChatGPT for that interior planning or the event planning of the space. I wish I had one on the top of my mind, but if you just type in AI to help with like interior design or like,
Playing the grand.
yeah, planning and stuff like that, there are a bunch that pop up. So that's one way that can help you. Let's say that you are another service photographers. Same thing there, figuring out, oh, I wish I remembered the tool off the top of my head, but I know Photoshop has AI features, but there is another tool. I really wish I remembered it, but there's another tool that actually do all that stuff for you. So where like you just click the button and somebody's makeup needs to be fixed, it'll fix it for you. If you need to do like some type of shaping or something to somebody, something like that, it'll do that for you too. Backgrounds, it'll take it out and put a whole new background in, and it does it very well. So especially for people that don't want to go through with hiring an editor for post processing of their photos, if maybe they just have something quick they need to turn around and do, that's services out there that can actually help you with that.
Okay. So, all right. So when it comes to data, are we mostly working with like pulling down spreadsheets, or where else am I, like, I know social media, I can go in insights, but where else am I getting the quote unquote data from?
Right. So this can be from, I mean, your spreadsheet, sure. If you're using any type of specific applications, of course, they have a way for you to export that information. So yeah, it'll still be Excel sheets, unless you're feeling super technical and want to learn how to code. Sometimes you might have to pull something from like some APIs and create a script to do that. And which you can export, you can pull it from the AI using like a Python script. And then if you want to turn it into a spreadsheet to make it easier, you can too. But of course, if you're not technical, you might as well just grab a spreadsheet.
Okay. So yeah, so that's a good question, Shai. So we got to figure out, okay, it's one thing to say that we're going to use data, but it's another thing to figure out, okay, how do I extract, how do I get the data? Where is this data coming from? What indicators am I looking for? But even that's going back to, yeah, we got to do some backtracking there, because it's like, okay, well, what are your goals and objectives? And then that determines the data or what data we're looking at.
Right. Exactly. And then also you might not even have to, you can get the spreadsheet if you want to upload it to ChatGPT or something, but a lot of times a lot of backends on of some products or applications will have those dashboards available to you with the metrics. You just have to understand how to use those to get to what you're trying to figure out. Such as, how many people are selling something, how many people signed up for your newsletter, things of that nature. But maybe you care less about how many people signed up and more so where is your traffic coming from? Is it coming from people directly searching your name? Did someone recommend you and they sent a ton of traffic your way? Did you show up on Google, which is actually becoming more and more, or even now, did AI recommend you? Because we're now having it to where people search. That's a search engine, but AI has to scrape and read through your website to even know who you are to recommend you. So that's something that people should also think about. It's called AI CEO, thinking about how to position themselves well for AI. So to actually market themselves. Yeah, so
Right,
they
so
don't
when people search you up, AI, it is.
That's the first. Yeah, I never heard of that, but it makes sense. So AI CEO.
Right. So that means I know a lot of us like to be cute with our descriptions. Of course, it makes it fun, and fun, but it's great for humans. An agent might see something and it's just like, well, I don't know what this means because I don't have the context or the pop culture knowledge to know that this is the product that you're offering. I just see some weird, like, slangish or like weird, like, what does it even mean?
I'm a marketing ninja. They may think you're a marketing person and you're a ninja, Victor, something else.
Literally, yeah, or like a weird new job title that's never existed, and they never know because they've never seen that in the data that it was trained on. So there's this thing of having to try and skew your website to be extremely descriptive and granular in what you're offering. That way, when an AI agent sees it, it'll be like, oh, okay, this person does marketing and copywriting, and they do it for people in the legal field. So if someone's asking about some legal services or like copyright for their legal website, I can offer this instead of, and because they're not going to remember, it's not going to, if you say this and you're a marketing ninja, it's not going to recommend you because they're looking for marketing people or like, they're not looking for marketing ninjas.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that you have to think about, both marketing for human and marketing for AI.
Yeah. And that's a interesting, now that's the bar right there. Is that, because I know what you're talking about. Like I've had to, like I'm a public figure. So I've put in like, I've asked something about me, right? I asked about ShySpeaks and they said some people that I opened for, some people that I did things with, or some things, some what do you call it, accomplishments that I had. And some of them was true and other ones was like, that is not true.
So right.
That's not right. That sounds good though, but I haven't really done that. And so if I want it to be accurate, I have to go do some things so that AI can pull in accurate information about me. And that's something that you can implement right now as a CEO, an AI CEO. I love that because we've been talking about this challenge that running for creatives, and it's called the Creative to CEO Challenge, right? We want to invite you right here in this moment to take the challenge. It's just 5 days and it is powerful 5 days. It includes, matter of fact, let me let Ron talk about it.
So it includes sessions with me and Shy, right? So you're going to be learning from us directly, and we're going to dive into the things that we talk about here in the podcast: strategy, structure, self-development, but also sustainability. Because it's one thing to be able to walk away with this blueprint, but this blueprint is not going to, it's going to help you do what you do now even better, but it's going to help you last and sustain so that you can keep it going, because I know nobody wants to be tired and burnt out and tossing it and moving along. No, you want to keep going. So
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to the Creative to CEO challenge, we're trying to help people move from just being the creative only. And I'm just the creative. I let other people do all these things. That's great. And we do want to let other people do all these things, but we want you to have a creative mindset and how you operate the business. Step into that CEO as a creative. Some of the best companies were birthed from creative entrepreneurs. Walt Disney is a creative, technically just in art, in the cartoon world, right? Really, you know what I mean? But we think about what he has created, Universal Studio, all of that that's surrounding it. And I think that it's so important for creatives to realize that they can apply their creativity to being a CEO, and like what you're talking about, the AI, making sure I got that done. And so that as I create as a CEO, there's that. So we just want to make sure we're inviting you again to the Creative to CEO Challenge. It's a 5-day challenge. And it is not just we're running our live coaching and mentoring, but you're going to be in there with other people, other creative CEOs just like yourself, who are challenging themselves to get into that CEO seat, not just calling themselves that entitled, but they're really being that. And we're talking about data today and being able to look at your metrics. Yes, we talk about self-development, but he mentioned sustainability, right? We talk about sustainability. You have to review your metrics, and we're going to show you, we're going to give you a CEO playbook and make it super simple, but you have to have the mindset that I'm willing to sit down and review things. If I don't review them, I will not be able to sustain this company, right? And so that stuff is important, and that's what data is, why it's so important. All right, so do you have, I'm gonna get back to you before we close out this interview. Do you happen to have any AI tools that you love that you want to just share? Like, hey, here are some ones that I really wish people would get into and go check these out.
Yes, I do, and they're not ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So the first one is Perplexity. I like that one when you're really looking for to stay on top of any new trends, new articles, and news that comes out. It's very good for searching up that, and I really like it because it's good for your niche. Because I'm a creator, I talk about tech. I'm a tech content creator. I look for any new news that comes out, especially for AI and data, and that helps me to inform and shape what videos I'm going to make next. Whereas if I went to something else, it wouldn't help. So if you are creative trying to use that, it's very good for understanding trends. Maybe there are certain companies or things that you pay attention to that you should, that help shape that. Even also for news that it can affect you. I mean, with the supply chain stuff, hearing about the tariffs and all that, you don't want to wait until,
You're affected.
yeah, you're affected if you know about this stuff now. And it's as simple as, very similar to talking to ChatGPT. You just type in, hey, what are trends in this industry, or what are the top articles that are about this? And it'll help to summarize and reduce all that down to the most important things that you really should know. And I like it because also as you're ideating and helping, it will cite where it found that information and give you the links as well too. So if you want to click and verify that it's true, you can. Maybe there's a certain angle in the article that it didn't talk about that you actually find from reading in the article. So I really, really like it for that. I also use something called Manus AI. That was not as talked about because they're a Singapore-based company, and of course the U.S. wants to focus on U.S.-based companies. I like them because they have something that's called multi-agent. So it's more than just asking a question and then it gives you a response. If you needed to go do something, it can do that as well. Perhaps I don't use it for coding, but another one that I really focus on with that one is helping to script out my content, and also helping with value positioning as well too, and legal contracts. Manus is really good for legal contracts. It'll read the nitty gritty. It'll tell you the pros and cons of what's there, and maybe some things that you might be missing from there to help you to make sure that you're safe and you're covered, or even to protect the other party in there too. Like, hey, y'all might be missing this.
You have a third one. You have another one?
And then the third one. What is the third one that I use? It's on the tip of my tongue too.
Now, before you say your third one, I wanted to say something about what you said with Manus, just to make sure I'm tracking for creative entrepreneurs. I'm working on an idea. I'm trying to come up with a new product. I'm killing it with all these other products. I'm just trying to come up with an idea, or we're having this event here and I'm trying to figure that out. That's not really my theme because I'm really doing this, but we have to do this event for our. So I'm working on this, and I'm like, ooh, I'm wondering what's the history? I'm coming up with a theme for the event, for example, and what's the history of masquerades, right? So while I'm doing ideation, can I say go search history on masquerades or something like that, and I'm still working on, and we come back and then let's, is it like that? Okay.
So yeah, it's very, and that's another thing I like too. You could set it to go do its thing and research and do this called deep thinking, because that's where it's really taking its time. You can go back, go watch a movie, go do whatever, come back, it's still working, or either it's done everything for you. So which is cool. If you need to open another tab, go somewhere, it's fine as well too, which is really good for, as you were saying, multitasking. So if you need to focus or go do something else, that's fine. I believe for the free accounts, they don't have it to where you can have 2 tabs working at the same time. But if you do get a paid account, which is like what, maybe $10 a month, depends on what tier you get, you can have multiple of those going at the same time. So maybe you have different events you have to do deep research on. It can go do that for your masquerade ball, and then maybe you have something going on with a wedding, it'll hook you up on that too, which is really, really good. And that's why I like AI, because it really helps to speed up the process for you getting things done if you know what you're doing or you have a goal in mind. I say this because of critical thinking. So a lot of people complain, oh, I did this with AI and it didn't do anything, it's boring, or it just whatever. AI is only as good as what you tell it, and that comes from critical thinking. I am enjoying this era in a way because it's really helping to help focus on communication. Because if you're not good at communicating with the machine, you're probably not that good at communicating with people as well too. You're not all that detailed and all of that. So if you're selling it something generic, like go find X, Y, and Z, it's going to do it, but it's not going to be great.
Right.
But you might say, actually, you pretend that you're a photographer and you're really focused on fashion photography. What are the different styles that I should focus on and even learn about the history of? And then tell me the pros and cons of what transpired between all those different genres of fashion photography for this to come to be how it is. Boom. And then from there, maybe you might find the niche genre in fashion photography that you like that no one else is offering.
Yeah.
Which will help you compared to the person that was like, yeah, what's fashion photography and what did it be urgent.
Wow.
So that stuff helps. And then if you realize maybe you didn't get the information you needed, try to go even more granular. And it's a habit, once you get consistently doing this, you'll understand even better. When you're speaking to people, your communication improves too.
Right. That's pretty cool.
So as much as these tools are, a lot of people saying they're not helping you, they're making slop, which is true. But that's only if you're not putting your own voice and thoughts and emotions behind things. You kind of really do have to have the idea to plant the seed into whatever AI tool you're doing to make it useful. Because really cool things are like combining different ideas, and it'll have enough information from those different ideas and concepts to bring them together into one.
Right. Now, just a minute ago, I was saying, you say you had your favorite tools. You gave us 2. Then you had a third one. I left a cliffhanger, right? And because you was like, I have a third one. So you use Manus, you use Perplexity, and
Third one.
yeah, the third one.
The third one, yes. The third one is called Loable. And Loable helps you to actually spin up websites and concepts very fast, which is really good if, of course, you don't have any coding experience or you're wanting to get something done without paying $1 million to a developer. I'm a developer, so I do, respect the being compensated, but you might not have that right now, especially if you're starting out or you're early. So you can actually use that to spin up a website and what that might look like, and it'll connect to a database for you. And I really like it. A lot of people have been using it. I've helped a couple of friends with startups to use that. The only thing you need to do or make sure you're doing is security and checking with that. But Loable has grown and developed to the point where they're adding in robust security features to make sure you don't get hacked. But let's say, you have a catering business, you want to spin something up quick. Make something cute called Cassie Cakes that, is focused more so on like, cute cartoon art. That's mostly what the basis of what I make is. It'll spin that up for you, maybe even create like your little product guides and all that stuff that's going on there.
Wow.
But then, your 15, 20 minutes of it building it out. Maybe you decide you don't like that. You want to focus on like a couple of color schemes. Tell it that. It'll go ahead and keep the same website, switch out the color schemes and stuff for you. And also, if you need to export it to where you actually might need a developer to build out custom features, you can do that. You can export it. It'll give you the code and they'll send it off to somebody else to work on.
Right. So it at least helps you ideate and kind of come up with a move so that you're handing it off to a developer who's going to put the real nuts and bolts behind it and make sure it is really functional. But at least you can say, hey, this is kind of what I want, right? So it's a mock-up, so to speak.
Yep, it's a mock-up or even actually a real site if you want it to be. Like all you have to do is click publish and it can be live. So it's really good for if you want to spin up a business very fast, especially if you're service-based. And then it's also just really good, as you were saying, for mock-ups or seeing, pretending what could be, what this could look like. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. So that's a lot of information, and I didn't know that about Loable. Maybe you guys did. I'm still learning. You know what I mean? I'm still learning.
There's a lot of tools out there too.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard to keep up.
So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for taking time to come today to talk to us about, how creatives, being a resource in our series, Resources for Creative Entrepreneurs, how creative entrepreneurs can use AI and data to mind their creative business, right?
Yes.
You're going to take this data, you're going to analyze it. If you don't know how to analyze it, you're going to let AI help you analyze it. And then after it analyzes it, you're going to make the best decisions to drive your business forward, to scale your company.
Right.
And one of the things that you mentioned, you're a developer. We know that you're an AI and you're a data engineer. We talked briefly about you're also an entrepreneur, right? And so one of the companies I know that you have coming down the pipeline. Do you want to share a little bit about what's next for you before we get out of here? Because so we can see you in real time work your creativity and coming up with your businesses.
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually in the process of building out a fashion and beauty AI research lab, which spans, it comes from, I really like fashion and beauty, but also like tech. And it'd be really cool to combine the two. A lot of that is because there's not a lot of talk about AI, especially in traditional like women's spaces with femininity and stuff, but there is a lot of room for that. The whole goal of that is to find ways to better serve the customer in the sense of it would be really cool to have personalized insights on how people shop for specific products. That way you improve the customer experience of shopping for stuff. We've all know what it's like to shop on like a website and it takes you going through like 15, 20 pages of stuff that you don't like, but you have to go through it anyways because one might pop up that you like. Imagine you have a world where you, based off of your previous consumer history, maybe your hobbies and the things that you like, you get served stuff that immediately speaks to you without you having to go through 15 things that you might not like. They might be they might be things that you're somewhat partial to, but at least they're in the wheelhouse of what you already have or whatever's going on. And also it's tailored to you. So you're not focused too much on the trends and shopping because you saw so-and-so influencer, but it's focused on who you are as a person and what you actually like and want to wear. And I think that it'll help in many ways. One, businesses will be able to better serve people and make sure they're seeing what they like, which will help to reduce the amount of returns they get. And then two, customers will be even happy because they're actually wearing something that they really like and they can do it faster and don't have to sift and sort through so many sites to get what they want. Also, while boosting their self-esteem. So playing around with a lot of stuff like that, and that just spurred from a speaking engagement where I combined data and fashion a couple months ago. So I'm really excited about it. I'm still in the ideation phase about it, but there's so much I can do, and I think it's going to be really cool. Hopefully, we'll see if it'll lend way into like some fashion weeks. Hopefully, Paris, London, all places, just. But yeah, I think there's a lot that can come from it, and of course, I like to try and incorporate culture in everything I do, especially my content. So that'll be a focal point as well.
Cool. All right, and I know that you had the opportunity to keynote speak. Do you want to share a little bit of like when you're talking about AI and you're speaking, what are you what's something that you're talking? I want to share a little bit about that so that people can know like, man, I want to tap more into her about this type of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So my talks, I just started speaking this year, but all of my talks are mostly on the technical side, focusing on how to build out AI, but from a strategy perspective, which is the most important because it ties back to the business. I understand coding and all that stuff is cool, but customers don't care about the code. They care about the value that they're getting from the business. So a lot of times I've been talking about a framework I have for AI agents, which we talked about with Manus, where it'll send things to do things for you. Even with ChatGPT, it'll talk to Etsy to get some stuff, to buy stuff for you and things of that nature. but how to make them more efficient, how to keep them from failing, and most important, how to recognize bias and mitigate that and remove that from these systems that are built out. My target audience is, of course, AI and data engineers, and then most importantly, the, directors, non-IC people, execs, all of that. So I mostly tailor my talks to that when speaking. But with my content, I make it more so for people that are trying to get into data, who are, or maybe even the mid-career or senior. And I like to talk to people from the perspective of them needing to understand how the higher ups think. That way they can climb the ladder. Because I know there's a lot of content about how to get into tech, but we need more content, especially for our demographic, how to stay in and how to move up the ladder. Because as we get in, I'm starting to see less and less of us in like managerial and up spaces. So as I'm working on that, I like to share the things that I'm learning and focusing on to help other people and like pull them up as well too.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
You got anything, Ron?
No, no, let's not say no. So for this next chapter and phase for you, right, as you're going into the fashion boutique and the AI and data, who do you have to become in order for that to happen?
Oh, yeah. I think about this all the time. The first thing that comes to mind is extremely disciplined, and okay with having a lot of responsibility. And also just making sure you have a lot of devotion to self to see things through, especially with being tied to one's purpose. So a lot of that is just being steadfast and trusting myself as an authority for like guiding and leading my life, of course, with, Christ in mind. But I also like to think that we're co-creators, like we co-create with one another, which is the way I like to think of it. It's beautiful to me. But honestly, just following through and being consistent. I don't have to be perfect, but as long as I'm showing up, that's going to count for something because it snowballs. One of the biggest things that I've learned this year is most people just don't even show up. When in reality, what's really required is just to show up. You don't have to do all the fancy bells and whistles like you might think. 75% of people don't show up. So you only have 25 people that you have to compete with.
Right.
Yeah, and then even if you know half of what you need to know, you already ahead a majority of that 25 people. So that's really what it is. Just showing up and being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Wow. I would have asked you that same question as well, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to like talk a little bit more about AI in your business, because I know somebody probably was thinking like, how can I make money with AI? And you talking about your company and how you're creating that. Obviously your data engineering, you help people in there, but you're creating an AI based company yourself. And I think that will spark ideas. But now ending with this with this question, who do I need to be to become that? I think that that's so perfect. That's a great place to conclude this episode. So again, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We honor your time. We respect your time. We hope that these resources are valuable for you. Please check out the rest of the playlist that we have called Resources for Creative Entrepreneurs, so that you can go in and tap in and say, okay, I need all the resources. I'm getting the mindset. I'm going behind the six-figure creative, the seven-figure creative, but I want to make sure I'm getting this stuff as well. And so that you're constantly and always minding your creative business. You got anything?
Yeah, so like we invited you to be a part of the CEO or Creative to CEO challenge earlier. We just want to reiterate, there's going to be a link within the show notes or in the comments. Click that link and join it so you can be a part of the next cohort when we have that available. And on that note, once again, it's time to end out with this mantra.
Yes, we end every single episode with a mantra. This entire time of every episode, you're always hearing from us. You're hearing from Ron. You're hearing from myself. We're asking questions. We're posing ideas. And you're hearing from our lovely guests. But we want to make sure you have an opportunity to hear from yourself. And we want you to actually speak as well. So what we want you to do is repeat this mantra after us, and it'll help you mind your creative business. Watch this. You gonna repeat it for us?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. We in here? All right, here we go. All it takes.
All it takes.
All it takes.
Let's do it together. All it takes.
All it takes
Is intention.
is intention,
Consistency. And laser focus.
we're laser focused
To mind my creative business.
behind my creative business.
And on that note, we out. Peace.